Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Rewriting the Foundations. I'm your host, Macy Miranda, and I'm here joined by my wonderful three friends with me. And we're going to talk about kind of piggybacking off of my first two conversation type episodes. And we're going to be talking about kind of in the spectrum in the realms of fan fiction and literacy rates and how COVID kind of impacted all of that. So I have a collection of a few questions to ask you guys. And we're going to kind of piggyback off each other. So, someone who enjoys reading fan fiction, what draws you into reading the stories? And this can be more of a broad spectrum or personal opinion, personal thoughts, whatever you want.
I do like to kind of insert myself into the world that a character is in, whether that be an alternate universe or the actual like canon world of a series or anything. I do like to insert myself there, not necessarily like for extreme disassociation, but it is kind of a relief. I can come home, I can, explore like different areas of my mind or like different areas of just like different books, things I haven't even imagined before that I didn't know were capable in real life or fictionally. I can go off and do that. And then also like be with a character that I think is like really cool or like really cute. I don't know. But yeah, it really is just like kind of that stepping away. For me, I think it's fun to just imagine myself in different scenarios.
I'm in a backpack off of Ayana's point where it's like disappearing into a different world. If you've had a rough day, you can kind of draw yourself just to relax and just like enjoy the art that somebody has created. Especially if you see yourself in the character, or even sometimes I find that like I'm imagining a scenario that these characters could be doing, and I'm like, oh my God, it fits their personalities, but also like I wonder if somebody else has also had this creativity and this thought that they have written into this platform, and be like, can I find this? If not, like, am I going to be inspired to write something to start this creativity? I think it's a really big draw for me as well. Yeah, just different scenarios that you can find yourself in through the characters and through different art forms in that universe or in any like character story. I think like again, like disappearing into the world is just like really just take a deep dive. Yeah. Lee?
I guess how to say, what I look for when I'm reading it, or what I used to put in my mind while writing just fan fiction or just any sort of fiction in general, would just be creativity and world building. I really love world building. Like when people are explaining like the lore of maybe like the town that the setting is in. One of the reasons I really love Wicked is because in the book, there's a map of all of the different places in Oz. We're not just at the Emerald City. We're not just at, one Munchkin Land. We're also at the Quad Lane corner and this, that, and the third. Like it's so much that gets put into the lore, and I really love that because it's not just revolving around the characters too. And then it also brings in like, it's kind of a mirror of our own world, and you can see maybe your like
Experience?
yeah, or just like where you live, maybe you could put that on this like country in this book or something, like, and when people take the time to build the world like that and do it properly, like it really
It shows.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the attention to detail when people write about that.
I'm going to finish off this question with my kind of personal experience, piggybacking off of what Lee said and how world building comes into play a lot. I feel like, especially as someone who enjoys writing and 100% has works published, has that drive for the creativity and everything, I feel like the ways you can envision your characters or whether it's an original character or a real person or hypothetical, who you name it, whatever. But if you can imagine those characters in that situation and then drawing, I feel like fan fiction itself is an emotional pull. So finding the emotions of how does this character interact with this character, this, that, and the third, and how does this implement their personal or mental state? I think that's where you get like the angst, the heartfelt, the yearning, all of that stuff correlates to the emotions. And I feel like if you get those characters' emotions right, whether you're reading or writing, I feel like that as a fan fiction creator or just creative media in general, that's what's going to draw your audience in. That's what's going to separate your work from someone else's, because you have that mindset of how can these readers or my audience draw those emotions to themselves, and how can they relate to it? Kind of what you said, Victoria, about how it's an emotional thing and how like you can get attached but also like lost in this world. I feel like if you accentuate those emotions, then that's what really the attention to detail is. And so you're separating yourself from the basic, boring, oh, here's how this situation is going, but you're actually creating your own world, and you're giving those thoughts to those characters, whether they would have those thoughts or whether it just fits the plot line or anything. And so I think that like really accentuates itself and makes itself known in that presence. So my next question is that as you know, we're all in the same grade, right? 12th grade. Oh my goodness, big year. Being a student in 12th grade, as you have your own literacy skills, as you've grown them through middle school, through all your schooling up to now, whether that be English language arts or any advanced placement courses that you've taken, have you ever considered how those skills have applied to your literacy knowledge as you mature into an adult?
Oh, okay. This is a good question.
Do you want some time to think on it, or do I need to explain it a little bit further?
Maybe give us another question to kind of deeper.
Okay. So for me personally, I talked about this in my podcast last episode, is that as I find myself, all these writing assignments, whether it be 2 paragraphs, whether it be a research paper or whatever, I, have history papers from 9th grade or 8th grade and stuff that I've just carried over and saved into my personal drive just because it is writing. And it doesn't have to be creative writing, but because it's writing in general, I can look back and reflect about, oh, here's how I kind of structured things in that grade compared to now, as in, oh, how can I have used the stuff I've learned continuously to showcase my, creativity and skill as a writer and a reader to process those things. So my question kind of relates to that, as in, how can your skills in your classes apply to those of creative media and creative writing, but also how can it impact your skills as a creative writer into your school writing? Kind of like a vice versa type thing.
Kind of answer that. For me, for a while, I had this struggle. I've never been the best writer, but because I've read so much, as a younger kid, like elementary and middle school, I was always a reader. I never really got into like the fan fiction realm around there, but I was always reading something. And so that at least has helped me understand, whether that be in my day-to-day or in my actual reading, or whether that be for schooling or whatever, it has helped me understand the text a lot. So especially for someone, I don't do the best with like sometimes the social cues and things, but I know as I go through and I read about other people's emotions, and like in any sort of creative writing, I can take that over and implement it into my day-to-day and social interactions, or in my actual writing, as as if like when I'm writing for Miss Blanton, shout out Miss Blanton. Yeah. So when it comes to like saving things, I've done that too. I see how I used to write as a 9th grader or a sophomore, and I flame myself.
Yes.
Because it was really bad.
So bad.
It was so bad. And then I think like summer of sophomore year, or maybe beginning of junior year, I just kind of have this epiphany. I was like, I'm not a good writer. And I, again, never was the one to like actually write fan fiction or anything. I was always observing, I was always reading, but I could point out to you when I was like, that is not great grammar. And I would never actually pick up something that I didn't think read well in my head. So I can differentiate. It was just when it comes to putting it down and applying it, at least around that time, I was not the best at it. And then there's also comes the difference of academic writing versus creative writing.
Because you have your argumentative essays, you have your opinion-based appeals to the whatever audience essays, and they're all different, but they all impact everything as a whole.
So like the skills are transferable. You just need to know how to differentiate.
For sure.
I would say for me, it's been really hard because there was a time, I would say definitely during quarantine, but even before that, like before it started, like from like 6th grade to then when the quarantine started, I was just not doing a lot of creative things in general. I had stopped singing, I'd stopped reading, writing, like I just stopped doing all of that.
All in this slump of like, oh, I just need to get through the end of the day, through
Yeah,
the meeting. I just
right.
stop.
And I just went to sleep. Like it wasn't a productive time for me. But when I picked it back up, I guess what I learned about myself, especially like with the academic side of just like literature, is I know I can write. It's just a matter of if I'm in it or not. Like if
Passionate
I'm
about the
if I'm
subject.
passionate about the subject, I'm going to do something really well. Like for example, I did a whole speech on misogynoir and intersectionality in one class before, and that was really well written, and I'm really proud of that. Or for example, it was a joke, but my Baytopia project that I did in civics, where I made a whole country based on just Beyonce, like that again with like the world building stuff, that's really my passion. So it came really easily for me. And I think when I use it in like when I just use my knowledge of that in other spaces, it kind of helps, like I would say it helps with like comprehension, because then like you can understand things clearer. And I feel like I don't know. Like I'm trying to put it into words.
You
It-
can understand it better because you saw like where you were.
Yeah,
and
like, yeah.
You can kind of reflect upon your
Right,
thoughts,
yeah. And especially because it's harder for me anyways, it's harder to write stuff that's boring, that I'm not into, and then on top of that, it's harder to write stuff that are already like pre-existing. Like fan fiction has always been really hard for me to write. I've always been more drawn to like original stories. Yeah, that's always been like my professional thing, but I really love reading fan fiction, especially when it stands as its own project too. Like when
stories that are 200 or plus word chapters.
Yes.
500, literally longer.
Yes, right.
Literally
Exactly.
Bible. And
Yeah.
people have three books in the series.
Yeah, I really love when it stands alone and it gives it that kind of like individuality. So where it's like, yeah, it is a fan fiction, but it's also its own story. It also has its own magic. It has its own rules, and it's really beautiful to see, because it shows that not all creativity has just went away, and that like,
Where it's not just like physical.
Yeah.
creativity, like art or music.
Yeah, and it also shows like the depths of like how people think and like how their
The
brain
psychology.
works. Yeah. And it shows how they think about even like this world that we live in. How do you process it? How do you see like our government, or like just how our systems work? Just all of that stuff. Like it's really interesting to see that mirrored in people's projects.
I think the connection between like writing or reading in school versus like personal, I was personally never a big reader. I hated reading. I hated summer reading.
Don't get me started.
I'm sorry. I
always watch
lied.
the
I never
movie.
finished Wonder, and I'm sorry, and I still ate that project up, but I didn't finish the book. I
The
hated
Outsiders.
it. Yes, well that was a good one.
I
but-
watched the movie instead.
watched the movie, but I was never a good reader. And so to jump back in like now, I think as like a reader of fan fiction for the past like at least very in-depthly in the past 3 years, to pick it back up is like, wait, I can actually read. I can comprehend this. There is a level of logic as well as ethics to be drawn into the story and the world building and just the individuality of what I'm reading compared to what somebody else has wrote.
Yeah.
And all the different authors and pieces. Like I can read, and it's almost like it builds confidence in you as it's something you enjoy, because there's multiple different works and different fandoms, different characters. You're gonna find something you enjoy. And if you don't, I'd be shocked. And even in
Especially
school,
that filter.
yes, the
They
filters.
don't
And I think even in school, like there's this running joke in like the fan fiction fandom. It's like everybody's first fandom was like either Harry Potter or Percy Jackson, because those books were so.
talking about that last
Yes,
episode. I was
Percy
like,
Jackson.
got
I was
me
like, Percy Jackson or Harry Potter, one of those two. put you on. You were hooked. That
Well,
or
you're
like,
different.
or it depends. Like if that's
Your horror thriller.
that's for like if you're like media like book like if you intake book media, but like if you're like
Especially
intaking like
through that
TV
pipeline from
shows,
school.
yes, school too, like taking that and then having to do like written essay projects on it is where you can kind of like see how you process this, where you can relate to the characters, and then also like feed that back into your like career as a student.
Mhm.
So I see that, and now even after like and even before doing both AP classes, both language and literature, I know how I wrote. I can go back and like my essays before. Wow, some of it was bad, some of it was good. There was good thing, there was bad things. I now understand, oh, I could have done this better, or like, oh, I did this good. Let's continue that. Let's build that more. Let's ask more why questions. How'd that get there? It really just draws, your thinking point to your focal point and like what the purpose of your writing is as a student, So, yeah.
Yeah, kind of go back because I've been like, you guys made so many good points.
Yes.
And reading as like an adolescent or like a child and then transitioning to school or just like reading fan fiction and transitioning that to school, there's so many beautiful things about fan fiction and just like the emotion. I do read a lot of emotional pieces sometimes.
Definitely.
So the emotion or just being able to look at the emotion in a piece and then be able to translate that. When Victoria was talking, one of the things that stood out to me specifically is when we were again in Miss Blanton's class. I know you're going to hear this.
Shout out.
Shout out. But we were in Miss Blanton's class and we were looking at a painting of Icarus or was it called The Fall of Icarus? And for me, I've always loved
Mythology.
Greek mythology.
Can I jump in real quick? Because like,
Yes.
I've always said Icarus and not Icarus.
Oh my
Am I
gosh.
really
Like,
wrong?
I think I'm pretty sure
Pecans, pecan, same difference.
No, it's not.
I was like, Icarus. What are we talking about? It's Icarus. What?
I love Icarus.
Icarus.
I love Greek mythology so much, and like Icarus specifically so much. I know for a fact my handle on Tumblr is actually Icarus had the right idea, and I don't know. I came up with that when I was like 11 or 12.
She was so smart. Right.
I did. I love every part of Greek mythology and just like there's so much emotion in it. And that is also the thing that draws me to fan fiction. And it's again, the skills are transferable. I'm very easily attracted to a piece if it has a lot of emotion or something that I could easily point out.
You can
like-
relate to even.
Yeah. Or just like any type of emotion. I'm a big horror fan. So fear, it's so raw because in horror, it's not just like, oh my God, there's a monster. There are things deeper than that, especially like psychological horror.
It's the mind game.
Horror is really just an amazing genre. And I have found, I guess through fan fiction at least, or my every day-to-day life, that I like emotion in pieces. And it makes it really easy to read and write a piece when I feel very strongly about it.
Kind of like what Lee said. When you have
Yeah,
when your heart is in it, it's easier to
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to add there.
Yeah.
I
think those are all valid points, and I love all of our conversations about this question. I don't know if I should add on because I feel like I agree with basically everything that you said, other than the fact that I guess mythology, because it in itself is almost like a fan fiction within a fan fiction, because you don't know if they're real, like especially with the emotional appeal behind what going off of you, Ayana, is that the mythology brings with like the psychological horrors and all that stuff and the emotion it brings. I was like, okay, in scholastic writing, especially when I was relating it to how I got introduced to fan fiction by reading Percy Jackson in 6th grade. And I was like, okay, well, here's the book. I watched the movie for class. Now what? Like, I don't, because I was like, again, I want more, but also it's like, I don't want to read all those books. I don't want to read all the parts of the books. I'm like, someone just give me a video essay, give me something, just explain the book in a summary. I don't care. So I found the videos and I just watched them. I'm like, okay, wait. But the thing is that it was from the book. It was from the Battle of Olympus, except it wasn't from Percy's perspective. It was Annabeth's perspective. Okay, well, this is the same story, but it's just told from another character's perspective. I'm like, this is really like, that's the turning point. I'm like, it's it's the new stories, but it's still in the original stories. And I'm like, okay, are there more things like this? Because this is what gets me intrigued. I'm like, I need to see what all these other people are thinking. And so that was really like Ty, especially because mythology, you can do so many different things. And I feel like that is
Because I feel like mythology, it has the emotional aspect, but there's logic behind these mythological stories and these, situations that we have stories about. There's logic, ethics, like there's everything about everything in there. So
Yeah. And
These world building.
yeah.
And also, I just love I love mythology. Introduction was Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
But my introduction to other like modern like fan fiction or just retellings of these stories was, I am ashamed to say, I don't remember the title of it, but that one terrible webtoon that's like a retelling of Persephone and
Yes. Sorry. We're Olympus.
Yes, Middle Olympus. It is
It's so
terrible,
bad, but it's
but
so
I
good. Isn't
really
it like where all the gods are different colors?
yes.
Oh my god.
And the retelling, it's terrible.
It's
And I would not recommend that to anybody.
Sure,
But
the hidden
the
gem.
concept is really good. Like the aspect of it where it's like everyone who's in the like godly world, their world is very modern as compared to in the human world. They're still in like togas and like they're still
Right.
wearing like, you know, and they don't have phones or nothing. Like they
Right.
got all of that stuff in cars and stuff in the godly world. You can make a assumption that since the gods are omnipresent, they already know what's going to happen in the future past and they know what's going on in the present. That means they can, technology wise, they can excel. And I like that aspect of it where it's just like you can make assumptions and you understand what's like going on and how it is happening. And like whether or not a piece of work is not that great,
Mhm.
you can still appreciate
The
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 effort.
concept of it.
The concept.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of that because when you were talking about the concept, conceptualization, and then also like the content in itself, how you comprehend it, especially mythology, got me thinking about, okay, if you can comprehend a text in school and you carry that on into your adult life, you can then create so many different other like pieces of literature, because then that got me thinking, oh my gosh, Epic the musical.
Yeah.
That literature carries over into the lyrics, into the composition of the play, the music, and it draws emotion. And so I'm like, if you don't have the conceptualization and the comprehension behind the words and text and anything, no matter where you are in the reading scale or literacy level, if you just don't have it, then it's going to be really hard for you to move on to an adult life, especially given that once you become a legal adult, you have all these documents, you have the legality of where you're put in society, and you have, your government that you need to understand, the laws, the policies that you really have to take account of yourself for. And I think that if you just don't have the conceptualization and your comprehension of those words as a fundamental, then you're really just going to struggle as an adult, blank point period.
This is going to be really quick, but that got me thinking, like the musical and the people who didn't have, or at least that deep understanding of what actually happened. But when you put it in a song or like rapping form and people are like, I can connect with this. Yeah. And not necessarily even short form. It's just something that makes it easier for them to grasp. And it's like, okay, I can connect with lyrics and understand the way lyrics and melody and understand that the way that this is split, it's easier than reading all the freaking Federalist Papers.
100%. Yes.
It is so much easier. So yeah.
Okay. That was a great conversation. I love that we just kept piggybacking off each other. Okay. This next question is more so steering off away from fan fiction, but it's still related to literacy and stuff like that. So because we're at that point in our lives, in our school career, where we're now at the top of the pyramid, where we get to oversee everything in the school system, with the after effects of COVID-19 in learning, what is your perception of younger students learning? So who wants to start this question? Okay, Leo, I'll pass it to you.
As somebody who wants to work with children in that space, I would say the question was like,
how does your perception of younger students learning with the after effects of COVID-19
how do I feel like they've learned since then, or like how,
or impacted by it? Yeah, how do you feel?
I feel like especially I can definitely say for myself, it has been really hard. It has been,
Younger sister.
yes.
You both are siblings. So
Not even just like that, because like even like not just with the people I live with, but also the people that I talk to on a regular basis, COVID genuinely like not only it was a bad learning experience because technology being in schools has been a debate since
Yeah.
Chromebooks, iPads, like it's been
The
for a
smart
while.
board.
The smart boards, the TVs, a big issue in like especially lower funded schools was like teachers weren't really teaching. They put like a documentary or something on a TV
Something
and
like
asked the students to like, yeah, and asked the students to take notes. But the thing is, when you put technology into these learning spaces, the kids need to already have some form of like, and if you're just going to put a screen in front of somebody's face, you need to, like, for me, if I didn't know how to read a regular book, why would I know how to read text on a computer? If I don't know how to comprehend words on paper, why would that change on the computer? And so when it comes to COVID, that I feel like that really ruined a lot of students' literacy rates because they weren't really reading. And also, it was very easy to just copy and paste. And so also, if you don't know discipline, why would you like, there's less discipline when you're online learning. They can't look at your screen if you're using a personal computer. And even if you are using a Chromebook, you're not connected to the school Wi-Fi, so they still can't check you. So it's like there's a lot of leeway when you do certain things. You can just get away with it. I coasted the entire COVID like quarantine. Like I wasn't doing any work. And when I did do work, it's very minimal.
I think coasting isn't really the right vocabulary word because I feel like coasting is like you're just doing it because you already understand the concept. I feel like you're just like floating.
Yeah. Like, because I definitely think if given the chance, I would have understood everything. But because it was such an unmotivating time, I was inside all day, and being inside is not good for your mental health. You will be depressed. Like, like it's not a fun time.
No.
Like, there's a difference between like liking to be inside and then being in quarantine and being forced to be inside.
100%.
I've learned like with a lot of things, when you're forced to do it, it loses its appeal. So
It's like when you know you have to do the dishes and then you go and do it on your own and then your parents tell you to do it and you're like, now I don't want to do it.
Exactly.
Like, it's
Exactly.
fine of you.
Right. That's also what happens with reading.
do you want to comment on the literacy rates of younger children?
Yeah, Mr. Fernandez, comment on the literacy rates of younger children.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Y'all should learn how to read.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
I agree. And like, yeah, like I just feel like it sucks because like I hate to use my sister as an example.
Well,
because
it's the younger generation
yeah,
like category.
but like it aggravates me sometimes because I really love her. She's more of a math person though. But it irritates me when she's on her iPad and she's not typing.
She's just on it to be honest.
She's on it and she's using the voice thing to record her voice so it puts in the text for
I
her.
didn't even do that.
I've never used that ever in my entire life.
Unless,
and I was like,
unless I had my hands full or something.
I know I've literally never used it no matter what though. Like, so it's just
The effort.
learn to type, girl, please. I love you. Please learn to type. True, please. Please type. It's getting hard out here and you're gonna need to learn how to type. But no, like
things can't write themselves.
it showed me that like not COVID was a big factor in how it didn't only just like not teach, but it impacted students learning, but it also impacted teachers teaching
Mhm.
because you can tell a lot of
The style.
newer teachers, a lot of them may have the passion, but a lot of them lost it due to COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of them have like given up hope and they've started to like, it's really sad to see because I I don't know, like read, girl.
Girl, read.
Like, please, because it's actually really fun and you learn so much. And it's really interesting to read a book and then mirror that off of your own life or how the world works around you. And it's sad to see people lose that motivation, not even just with books, but also in like songwriting and stuff like that. We're using AI to sing our own
Like, I
songs.
fear there will.
Like,
I hate to like. I know you guys don't like her like that, but I fear there will never be equivalent to Taylor, like a new Taylor Swift now.
because she can write songs.
Yeah.
Now, can she sing? She can.
That's not the topic.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, but just we're using AI to write our songs and sing them and stuff. Like, it's just
It's a shame.
Yeah, it really is.
I would like technology to stop now. I think we're good with the level that we've gotten to. We don't need any more.
We don't need more than one first.
Yeah.
I want to say something that I heavily transpired on in my first like talking episode, like conversation, and then I'll pass it off to one of you guys. But I heavily explained and leaned on the fact that by the time because we're in 12th grade now, the students who are in, unfortunately, 6th to 7th grade and 8th grade, now we're in the grades of 1, 2, and 3. And those are arguably one of the most fundamental grades in your school career. So being in COVID during those grades really put a strain on their comprehension levels. And so I really stress that those grades, you are learning to read, but the stuff that builds off of it, you're reading to learn. And if you don't learn to read, then you can't read to learn and comprehend what you are reading.
Listen, I think, is it sad that we're relying too much on technology now? And I use lightly, obviously, I don't mean we, literally me, myself, you, whatever. I mean like the kids who are in those lower grades, those fundamental grades. And even not to be like this person, but like it could also be effect of the teaching as well. Not only the kids had to adapt, but also the teachers had to adapt. And if that adaptation for the teachers was, I just need technology, it's too much. Like, obviously you need technology because it was Zoom and whatever, but because it was that, like, you couldn't like send a print sheet home, and work on tracing letters of the alphabet. I mean, right, not everybody has a printer. Like, you can't just like, and it's not, obviously it's too dumb to send it in the mail and write, like, it's stupid. So like, it's harder to teach that way in those fundamental grades. And again, like I said earlier, if you don't comprehend this stuff now, it only gets harder as you go into the higher grades. And if you don't comprehend those fundamentals, then you're just gonna be so lost and so behind. And then that's also where arguably, I think you may have mentioned it a prior episode or two, but holding kids back grades.
Yes.
I think the leniency in either administration or teachers, and that is too lenient. And I think just because, you did the work, maybe not to your fullest ability, or you were here in class, is enough to pass you. It's not.
We need to leave the children behind.
That's what I said. Like, unfortunately, I hate, like, morally, like, it's ambiguous,
Right.
but, like, logically and statistically hold them kids back.
A part of me is like, we shouldn't separate kids based on age groups. Like, I mean, we should still, but like within those age groups, we should make them a bit larger pool size and then separate them on like skill level.
Your capability.
Or
Or your comprehension.
Because if a 5-year-old can do multiplication problems and a 6 or 7-year-old can't, or maybe 7 or 8-year-old can't, whatever grades they may be in, because I'm not doing that math right now, then what? Then what is the question? Then what? So
They have to test into that.
I feel like you should have to be test into the grades. Can you do this? Can you comprehend this? And that's the whole reason why kind of the EOC and EOGs exist in those fundamental classes. Is, are the test grades good?
On
Did you
top.
learn what we are supposed to be doing? Are you keeping up with the whole other country? And that's a whole conversation within itself. Is like, is the state funding and managing these statewide tests to measure the not literacy rates, but the education rates, the comprehension rates of the classes well enough to their fullest ability, like what that whole
But
process is.
The backfalls, because those, EOC tests, those things, those measure the kids' comprehension of those items, but then it's the teachers who get the backlash because they're not teaching them. And it's whether it is the teacher's fault or not, there's still correlation between if the kid did it because the kid understood, or if it actually was the teacher who did it. So it's really like a both and,
Yeah.
or either or. It's not there's levels and difficulties and items to discuss about it. So, Ayana?
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into literacy today. I will touch on the original question because I just remembered it and I don't want to let it go.
Yes.
My perception of the younger children who may be like struggling with literacy, it obviously is very sad. I can relate to them, I will say. I think all of us, at least our senior class, can relate to some of them in one way or another. We either because we were impacted by COVID or we had learning struggles along our path. Like I tell people all the time, I was never the best math student.
Either.
Because of things like testing anxiety. And so I would always flunk my tests. I'd go to summer school and then I'd pass again because of like extreme anxiety or things like that. Or like math in general, I was like really bad at fractions. Did I make an effort to, get better? No. But also, did anyone see that I was struggling? No, because I was gifted in other areas and they were like, she'll figure it out. Let me think.
I think
There's so many things.
kind of like the perception is like there's I say this all the time, but like there's not a lot of effort or they're not the drive is not there to learn because sadly this is a generation that they've grown up with technology where it's kind of everything's handed to them. Everything is like read to them. They have options for them to read, to type it themselves. And that's just not that's not how
They don't have to go to the public library and look for their textbooks. I mean, neither did we, but it was always an option.
Right.
More
to the library than they have.
100%. Yeah, I've gone. The library is a great resource.
Right. And I also think like we are the first generation to grow up with technology, like
Literally as it's been
invented
because 2000.
Yeah. And so I feel like, but also parents are a lot different to us than they are to Gen Alpha. A lot of Gen Alpha parents are, at least the ones who have their first kids as Gen Alpha, are younger millennials. So they also, yes, they're very, because they don't want to raise their kids the exact way that their parents did. And I think that also plays a hand in it because while we did grow up with a lot of technology, a lot of our parents are also older millennials who
I need word to this newer technology too.
Yeah.
They grew up with the old technology.
Right. And even then, like, we're not as advanced as like my sister was working that tablet better than I did at her age. I don't know how. I'm like, you're a little too good at touching the screen.
Right. It is really freaky.
It's very,
very freaky. Like seeing my little brother, go through the motions of
like swiping,
rolling, playing. And I have made it I've talked to my mother saying, hey, he needs restrictions on this. She's like, no, it's fine. I'm going to put restrictions on this because I don't think it's fair to him specifically to just have technology as a resource. It's not healthy. It's not fair. It's not anything. So when looking back on these kids now, it's just technology is a great resource in moderation.
Yeah. And I also feel like the difference between them and Gen Z is also that we grew up with a lot of stuff that our older generations grew up with. Like, for example, CDs, DVDs, we grew up with CD players, DVD movies. Yes.
That Tom and Jerry.
Physical media is very...
Physical media. We still grew up with physical media because physical media was still a really big thing. That's why it always irritates me when a teacher goes, I don't know if you know about this.
Yes.
But do you know what a CD is? It's we're not that
exactly
young.
Who you're talking about.
Because physical media was really popular in the 2010s, and that's where we grew up.
Yeah.
So, yes, we do know what a CD is. And especially now with the hype of Y2K, a lot of Gen Z, as fashion moves on,
they want
the
digicam.
Exactly.
They want the records. They want the,
Yeah, so we know how older technology works. We all know how that works. It's just, that's a big difference from the people who grew up literally while AI was being invented, because we're new to AI.
Yeah.
We
It freaks me out.
yeah, like as far as I'm concerned, I'm like an 80-year-old with a computer. Like I don't know like what this is. Like what are we doing?
What do you mean,
So-
chat GBBB?
Like who is this chat?
Who's
Like
Gemini? I don't-
LGBT? Like, but yeah. So I feel like that is the biggest difference between like literacy, because we still grew up with like paperback books despite having maybe like a Kindle or something. We
Right.
still grew up with like textbooks instead of having to go on the Chromebook and go on like Khan Academy or something. So, it's
Yeah.
a very different, because a lot of older people, one of their main concerns, like the youth are always with the technology, the youth that don't know anything to do with technology. But I feel like we need to use a less broad term.
For technology.
Because-
Modern technology.
Exactly, because
Versus
the
technology.
middle kids of the
Oh,
Gen
like,
Z
we are the middle Gen Z.
generation,
Like we
they're-
are.
yeah, the middle kids of the Gen Z, like we still grew up with the same stuff that older and younger millennials grew up with, but we also just had technology. But technology really didn't become the main like front thing until after, until COVID, because everybody was.
Yes, I'm gonna backpack off of that. I think 3 points I have, given that like technology really didn't like boost until COVID, the whole meta whatever, because COVID, like you were inside, so everybody was trying to get to you versus you seek it out, and that's why streaming became such a big thing. You don't see people going to movie theaters anymore. You don't see people going to like some music stores or whatever. Like you just don't see that. So I think that's
all on demand.
yes, it's all on demand. It's just so quick. Like nobody uses Redbox no more.
Redbox is their what is it? The Blockbusters.
Yeah,
that's our
so
Blockbuster
Redbox is their
Redbox.
Blockbuster. Yeah,
That's our block.
like you don't see people going to arcades anymore because all you have is games on your phone.
Literally.
And I think also another point I wanted to mention was that I feel like, again, not this is broad and not this doesn't apply to every younger kid, but I feel like the discouraging of like actually going and reading and not like actually doing the work for themselves versus like some people are actively seeking out ways to avoid that by just diving into AI more. Like you're doing more work to avoid the work you could have just done.
And get it out the way.
Right. Like that's the part that gets me for that motivation, the drive. And then the other thing is like to mention off the older technology versus like the modern technology that we have now is like when you mentioned the Kindles, I thought of like the leapfrogs. I had a leapfrog. I loved my leapfrog because it wasn't just like a tablet.
Yeah.
There was limitations,
It
but
was-
all the games you had to play, they were all educational. You were learning colors. I had my ABC mouse. Well, all those like ads you see, but like they're there for a reason. Like they have ads for a reason. So all those educational games, those websites that like, wow, maybe if you're first hearing about it is like sketchy to you, I feel like it is a resource that people aren't using enough.
I feel like final thoughts on this question, kind of like going back to Lee on how the different generations raising the kids is really kind of also like a drawing factor, is that for Gen Z, specifically the middle Gen Z for us, we grew up with the modern technology evolving as to what it is now, but we also were being pushed to be outside. We had the other forms of playtime. We had, go outside until the street lights come back on. Then it's supper time. It's make sure at least I know you're within this amount of yards. Whose house you're going to be at? Okay, well, I'll text your mom or whatever. Are you having dinner over there? Are you staying over? You have those kind of questions and those ideas that's like, okay, well, here's the fundamentals. We grew up, we had access to technology, but it's the drive of I want to be somewhere else with physical people than being with people on a screen, the face-to-face. And I get like there were still, I don't remember exactly what years like the Xbox or the PlayStations began to really start evolving. I know the older generations in the consoles, especially like Nintendo, you have your Wii. Right. Yeah, exactly.
The 360.
100%. The Xbox 360.
I barely used it when I had it, but I had it.
It's like we were outside.
Exactly. We were outside enjoying the sun with people around our age, with neighbors. It's like all they want to be is connected to their devices. They want to be on Roblox. They want to be on Meta. They want their phones. And I feel like also the parents now are giving their kids technology way too early. Okay, so I know we touched up a lot in conversation regarding the last like 2 or 3 questions. We just kept going off of COVID and the implications of that. But aside from what you've observed from being in school and seeing younger students like areas of knowledge and literacy and stuff like that with their impacts of COVID, do you have any like personal thoughts about it or opinions that you feel like should be generalized or like maybe hot takes? You want to start, Ayana?
I mean, COVID did impact them a lot. I do agree. But a lot of us have to start taking some accountability. I mean, the gap isn't that big between like them and some of the high schoolers I've seen. And again, there's a lot of things that we can do that they cannot do, which is very, very shocking. But still, I walk around and I see high school like, bro. I'll never forget civic literacy. I took it late, so this is my junior year. And like I said, I wasn't the best writer, but I could write. And I was knowledgeable of how to write. And the sophomores like didn't even have like the concept of MLA format, APA format. They can't read, you know. It's like when it comes to grammar specifically, can't read. It's for some reason they look at a comma and just like not pause like as if they're reading the comma, they pause because they're confused on how the comma affects the text. And it's insane. Like one of the kids was looking at one of the pages that we had and he was like, that's wrong. Like he was talking about like your versus your. Yeah. And he was like, oh, that's wrong, like the wrong form. And I was like, I looked at it, I was like, no, that's completely right. That's right, because it is.
But at least he knows there's different ones because a lot of these students don't
Right.
use the one you work, why you are.
And I feel like, yeah, they write as if they text. So this is a problem for the lower kids. They can't send emails. They write as if they're texting. They're not knowledgeable, or at least they're getting like very late on how to do like certain formats. And again, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes every day. But again, you have to work to remedy those mistakes. And a lot of them don't even know what they're doing is wrong. And it was just insane. At one point, I was like, we should go around and read each other's papers and point out what's wrong with every single paper. Sometimes when someone points it out, you're like, hey, maybe I should change that. And it's not as if to be like, oh my God, you're such a bad human being, you can't write. No, it's, hey, this is wrong. You could word this better. This could be better. Instead of them immediately going to their best friend in the world, ChatGPT, like, let's do some peer reviews. We can make it better. And it's just like the amount of like AI talk. It was just, and I was constantly shutting it down. It's ridiculous. And they also just don't take a lot of things seriously. Like this sophomore class, I've noticed a lot of them are desensitized to things or just like joke about things that definitely is not a joke. They should definitely have some more couth, like, but they don't. And it's just crazy. It's kind of crazy to me. And
Crazy.
it's kind of crazy. Hot take, kind of crazy to joke about certain things. Like, it's just
And
very
we're
weird.
out of a school setting too.
Definitely. So yeah, the writing like we're texting and just the lack of formality in like spaces is weird.
Like, especially with the writing as you're texting, it's the shortened forms, the abbreviations, the not because, it's the cuz, like CUZ, TTL. I'm like, guys, seriously, let's be serious and realize that this is not appropriate in the formal setting of a school system, whether you're emailing a teacher or any company, because like us now, we're getting internships and stuff like that. So we have to send formal emails, especially in SGA, which I'm in. And so it's like you're talking to higher ups in admin and you need to be like on
Not
par.
Professional in a way. I mean, yes, there needs to be a sense of professionalism in your school career when handling things like that, but at least be formal and present and not like school, like, you can have a laugh, you can have a
Well,
joke,
I know we do all the time.
but like when and where that needs to be placed.
And they just
And they just
younger, they just don't care.
They just don't care, which is like in a way kind of freeing, but also like for when that perspective's introduced, it's more like they don't care, good for them, but also like they don't care, yikes. It's just very complex. Lee has some thoughts, I feel. Like he
I
wants
mean, like, I don't know. Like, it's just the desensitization of certain things really bothers me, especially with our generation, because like it feels like we're kind of reverting back to like in the early 2000s. The internet was a very no bars hell like place. Yeah, everybody was just kind of like wilding out.
Yeah.
And I think we're reverting back into that state, especially with like our president. Like, because he says whatever he wants on Twitter, people just think they can say whatever they want everywhere. And like, just like it's also like just like the willingness to learn is very low for a lot of people our age, because they want to feel like they're smarter, or they don't want the burden of knowing these things. Like, for example, like Chat GPT, like they want to keep having that easy way in life without having to think about, oh, there's like thousands of Black people developing lung issues because you're using the AI, because the research facilities are they're poisoning the water, they're poisoning the air in those underdeveloped communities. And so for a lot of these people, I think it's just easier for them to just like not think about it. I know I've had certain thoughts like that before, but I've never really acted on them. Like in my mind, I'm just like, I wish, oh my God, I wish I didn't know the things that I know. I wish I was ignorant so that I could just be a little bit happier about just everything. But that's not morally for me. I can't do that. So I think that's the reason why a lot of students, they gravitate towards just like writing what they want, like using it, saying what they want, posting what they, yeah. So, and then exactly. And then when it comes back to like literature too, it shows in like the way that they write. Like you're using one type of using one type of there, you're shortening everything down, like Saibao, or like doing too much DTF. You don't just,
That I'm not reading all of that.
I'm not reading all that. Like, I'm going to read all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like certain times, especially when it's something serious, like I'll see posts like maybe it's a situation where somebody has like maybe gotten abused in any type of way, and somebody in the comment section is like explaining maybe like the system behind it or something. And a reply will be like, I'm not reading all of that, but I agree. Now, see, now what if they said something stupid and you just agreed with that? Like, what if they were like, she should have just said no, and you just agreed with that? Like, you need to be reading all of that. Like, you need to read everything. I feel like it starts really young, because even as like a young kid, I would just read every single thing. Like, even right now, while I'm talking to you guys, I'm just trying to read what's on these paintings and reading the posters around me. And when you have that kind of embedded in you when you're young, you don't care about reading everything. Like, you don't care if something's that long. Even if it takes you a while to read, you're going to read it, because that's just something that's been like, placed inside of you, I guess.
I kind of want to add on to that just a little bit. It's like, yeah, if you don't have that type of reading instilled in you, or that care to read, or that willingness to read, you're not going to care about a lot of things. I think one of the earlier questions we had just talked about, kind of just the intersectionality of it all, where people who don't read, they end up being affected in so many ways of life because they're just blocked out from so much knowledge that they could have gained while reading. And again, this is why all of us need to read more in 2026. That's a New Year's resolution for all of us. But it's just like, if we don't read, how are we going to be able to recognize patterns. And that comes in your everyday when it comes to the bigger things like uprises in fascism in our country and other countries, or if it just comes in like recognizing patterns in relationships or friendships, whether that be good or bad. It's just, if you don't read and if you don't take anything, or if you don't read into things, how are you going to learn? How are you going to grow? And how are you going to gain or take from situations? And I just don't see that happening. A lot of people are losing the ability, especially through social media, to read between the lines or do their own research, or like the TikTok comments, a perfect example. People have just gotten so lazy with a lot of things. I know I have to a certain extent, but even then I'll still search for it. If I can't find it in the immediate, I'll go the long way. I'll go to Google. I'll go pick up an article. Some people just sit there and lie on their back and just be like, okay, well, I guess I won't know. Like, that is not a great mentality to have. If you are curious, you need to quell that curiosity. Go figure it out. Go search. Go look. Don't just sit there and not have any knowledge about. Yeah, don't sit there unsatisfied and still curious. That's just not how things should work. I mean, curiosity killed the cat for a reason. So, yeah, it's just, I don't see that in them. And I wish I did. Like, obviously, these are really big generalizations. I'm sure there are lots of great apples out there that are just learning all the time and ready to learn. But as a whole, like, again, generalizations as a whole, I'm not seeing it. And it's getting very concerning. I'm worried for the kids. And like, I'm sure I sound like millennials, and I'm sure to millennials that sound like Gen X, and to Gen X we sound like boomers. But things are repeated for a reason.
Kind of what Lee said when he was like, that they don't have like they want the easy way out, and that they're relying on like ChatGPT and Gemini and all these AI agents, is that it's addicting. It's like a drug. It's just easy. You can forget about all your problems and the hard ways. Oh, I don't know how to read. I don't know how to do this. So they rely on AI and get used to it because it's easy, because it's fast, because it's just there. And I feel like that can be even related to like the hard drugs that like are in the world now, and even like alcohol and stuff like that. It's just easy way out to some of like more quote unquote adult problems as well. So that's what I was gonna say. And all this kind of leads me to my next question, especially regarding AI and everything and how people interpret things on social media. How do you think the comprehension skills and everything carries over into social media, especially the generation divide and how things are available and more prominent in our generations versus new generations versus older generations? What do you think about that? I mean, I kind of was thinking something when Ayana was talking earlier, was like with social media on TikTok and on Reels, a lot of the Reels I see that are like mostly like re-uploaded in different like bot accounts that are just like Reddit stories or whatever. A lot of those stories are like on text as the person, like the voiceover is reading it to you, and it's kind of like highlighted the words. So because somebody's like reading it to you, they don't need to read it for themselves. And so that kind of like emphasizes the fact that, I guess, instills the idea that somebody's going to do it for you, and that's not always the case. So yeah. You want to add on to that? I don't know.
Yeah, instant gratification. People want things done, and they want things done fast. A point that I kind of touched on earlier, and I think is kind of evident, at least a little evident of a generational divide, is couth and the digital footprint. We have just been kind of known as like the generation that doesn't care, which can be good in a lot of ways. I do like that because we can point out a lot of BS. But in other ways, it gets hard because a lot of our peers, I'm losing my mind right here. I'm losing sentences. Honestly, what was the question?
About like the take on AI specifically and the generational divides that play into like the literacy in social media.
Oh, yeah. Old people are getting swindled every single day. Yeah, now I can talk concisely because I remember the question. I remember when like AI first started rolling out, and my grandma was like, "Yana, look at this crochet thing this person made." I'm like, "Grandma, that's AI." I'm like, "Baby, that's AI." So the older people are having a really tough time because how are they supposed to be prepared for this? Like there was nothing. They're already struggling with just technology in general. My grandma can barely operate her computer. So how is she supposed to deal with AI? And that was before the like extreme rollout started to come out with like voice in like deep fakes and like really accurate photos. um the first time I heard of like deep fakes was actually a really concerning case. It involved like one of the streamers that I was interacting with at the time, and things being made, like inappropriate things being made in their likeness. And it's like that has just spiraled down. Like, yes, that's illegal in California, but why is everybody else so slow? Why we have to protect? I think we have to start getting out regulations for these AI programs. I don't foresee that happening in this administration. Yeah. But old people are getting swindled left and right. And also, another part of that generational divide is, again, like we said earlier, we have kids or younger people who don't tend to do the research and will seek out AI answers or just fall for AI stuff because that's the first thing they see. Like, I don't know.
Like it's all the evidence they need.
Yeah, they'll just lie down and be like, let's not look further into it. But earlier that was, you know, easily like, oh my God, like that's obviously AI. Like, why did you read further into that? It's getting a lot harder now. They get more advanced. It's getting more difficult. I've been tricked by one or two AI videos now. It's getting really concerning. And this is a very concerning world because now we have Gen Alpha who's going to grow up with things like this. But yeah, it's just Gen Alpha is going to have to grow up with this. And it's, unless these regulations start coming out, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of cases that the FBI has to deal with involving a certain act against children. And that's not going to be fun at all. And yeah, it's just, we need to think about things, man. I don't know.
I know you have a lot of thoughts.
I love talking about technology, not the technology aspect of technology.
Negative.
I like to talk about what it does to people. I like to research like the effect it has on society, and just like watching it happen too, from somebody who literally like loves the video games, TV. Like I love being inside and being on my screen all day. But I think it's so funny to watch people who used to like say, "Oh, you're on that phone too much, or you on that too much," literally obsessed with like the AI. Like, okay, but guess who isn't using AI to write? It's because it's not me. Guess who's using their AI to create content? It's not me. And I feel like it's different because we and a lot of older people, even though they've seemed to kind of lose that kind of spark, we grew up with the internet that was still creative. It was still being made by and even without AI, we are still killing the earth with our technology.
No matter.
But on top of that, there's still like the moral part of it that's like, this was made by somebody who worked really hard on it, like websites and like Tumblr, like web design. We're like, everybody's so obsessed with like this whole minimalistic aesthetic. But back then, maybe like early 2000s to like 2017, 2016, it was like people made websites a lot more prettier. So, and people made like Flash games. I will always say the downfall of the internet, it started pretty early, but I will say it got worse when they got rid of Adobe Flash Player on Chrome, because that was big. Like people were so creative when using Flash, and I think it gave them a more accessible means of like animating and gaming without having to use AI and without having to, I mean, like I saw this thing, this guy had created an entire game with like AI, and it was just like, and this happens very often. Like even like you'll see like on the Nintendo store, which I thought was more heavily, Nintendo is very stingy. So the fact that they have AI games on their store is crazy to me. And I don't know, like, yeah. And then even like with even more like bigger things like racism and like sexism, like AI increases that and it portrays this like white supremacy like idea without actually doing or saying anything. It's really quiet the way that they do it because everybody's using it. So it's like, oh, well, black people are using AI. So clearly, like, it's not that bad to black people, but it is. Or like, it's number one, we already know it's killing black neighborhoods. They're putting factories near underdeveloped black neighborhoods. Number two, a lot of AI videos and AI things, the butt of the joke always seems to be black people. So even when humans are still doing it, like AI can put it out faster too. So it's even more in your face, especially with this presidency. I think we need less AI because it's genuinely like ruining people's perspective on like the real world. And just, I feel like the internet used to be a lot more realistic than this. And even if people would like lie or maybe they would show a persona on the internet that wasn't really true, you could still realize this was made by a person. So it's like, you know.
Unless you have any more comments, I'm gonna go to the last question. In reading fan fiction, going back to that, we're back to the topic. Finally, my big question. Do you believe that there are correlations between reading fan fiction and writing fan fiction and the literacy rates in any way? Because I, going into the start of this project and podcast, was originally drawn to the literacy rates of the US systematically, that it was a big issue, especially given COVID and the implications of it. But then my idea was that, hey, wait, let me include something that I know a good percentage of the public definitely does, which is read and write fan fiction, even though it normally doesn't get talked about in the public because it's kind of like, it's seen as like, it is taboo.
Or they automatically assume it's
they
romantic, and it's not.
Yes, like it's almost like they degrade you.
Yeah, they think they automatically want to assume it's like some sexual thing that you're reading, like but it's not. I mean, it is. Something.
Exactly.
Let me talk about this.
Because I remember we were on a call and I was like, yo, this dude is just writing fanfiction. I love it because there's not just Wicked. There's Elphaba's childhood. Then he's still coming out with another book about Glinda's childhood. And then there's a book for Lion. And there's a book for, I think, Fiyero. And then there's a book about Elphaba's son. And then there's a book about Elphaba's granddaughter. And I'm like, a lot of people don't realize that, especially like the whole Marvel franchise too, fan fiction. Like DC, like
I think I need script. I started with the comics. I took the comics and ran with it.
Yeah.
Scripts.
And yeah. And I mean, like, even like new comics, like it's a new person making, like it's a company behind it. Yeah. But there's new storyboard writers and there's people who draw them differently. There's multiverses too. The multiverses, you can technically say, are fan fictions of the original universe. So it's like, you know, fan fiction's being written every day. And nobody really, they just don't label it as, but we all know the truth. People who read fan fiction would know that certain things are fanfic, like everything is really fan fiction. I would say the Bible.
Yeah. That's a hot take.
Hot take. The Bible is low-key fanfic. Like, hold on. Stay with me now.
Okay. I'm holding your hand.
From a non-religious standpoint, it is seen as sort of a fan fiction. I'm a religious person. But I don't believe in the Bible. Like, I believe this was a white man writing fan fiction about the religion that he believed in. And I'm not saying some things in the Bible didn't happen. What I'm saying is a lot of the details might be flawed. That's why I consider it fan fiction, because fan fiction essentially is your own interpretation of the media that you're consuming. And by that time, Christianity, especially in Europe, really big. Like, Catholicism, like, and just every branch in like Christianity, like it was really in Europe really big. So when you're surrounded by all that, that's what all the basically media is at the time. That's what you're going to write about. And if you took his word, I'm not saying like, oh, you're dumb, like, oh, like this never happened, this, that, and the third. I'm not here to try to, I'm just saying purely from a standpoint of somebody who doesn't, yeah, that's essentially what fan fiction is. And I believe that also, kind of like the Bible, fan fiction you can use to kind of deal with your own life. You can apply lessons you may have learned or just anything, and you can apply that to your own life and try to like work on yourself. And you can do that with any type of media, but you know, 'cause we're talking about fan fiction. But yeah,
I think when it's now, I guess, relating back to the question a little bit, but also backpacking off, is the correlation between like what people either reading or writing fan fiction in the literacy rate is, I think people who are in the realm and the know of that fan fiction exists, they seek it out, they write it, are more inclined to participate in reading in general, but because they have that foundational I write fan fiction. Because fan fiction, I think if you seek it out or write it, you have to really have your heart in it, want to seek it out, want to have this specific trope happen, want to see these two characters interact, how the world building is portrayed and stuff like that. They have a drive for it. And so therefore that drive will like reflect back onto any reading, whether like for fun or like educational reading that you need in your own life. And so I think that's the main difference between just reading for reading, like, you know, whatever, documents, assignments, and like not being there present in the moment about it and having a bad attitude and not having the drive, versus having this foundation of fan fiction. You have the drive for it, you want to seek it out. So now that you have that foundation built up, then it's easier for you to just kind of read in general. Any comments you wanted to?
You guys both hit on the head of like what I would have said. Victoria started talking, and I was like, damn, I ain't got no more answers. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like Vic said, people who read fan fiction are most likely more inclined to seek out other forms of written media and in literature. And I could also say the flip side of that is people who read fan fiction are more likely to take away certain things or more likely to see certain things that other people would not see in media. If you're consuming a lot of romance, which a good chunk of fan fiction is,
Let's be honest.
yeah, let's be honest. I mean, if you're consuming a lot of romance, you're going to be more perceptive to romantic undertones in texts, especially texts that like seemingly have no romance. You'd be like, well, you could argue that this, and this is actually sort of romantic or has romantic undertone. Same thing if you're reading, I don't know, angst or just things with like certain character types, portrait poets of it all. I don't know.
Yeah.
You would be able to see things a lot clearer. And so that definitely does help. And what I'm saying now probably does tie into one of the questions that we said earlier. But yeah, guys, if you don't know, whoever's listening, not many people know 50 Shades of Grey started off as a Twilight fan fiction.
I know that.
The My Chemical Romance, Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey pipeline, look into it. I can't explain it verbatim, but all I know is that Gerard Way, when he saw 9/11, he was inspired to start My Chemical Romance.
That pipeline is crazy.
And then
I forgot that stepping stone.
And then I think how it went was Stephanie Myers was a fan of My Chemical Romance and wanted to write about them in a way. I don't know if that might be a little bit backwards, but those two are connected in this pipeline. And then someone read Twilight. Someone read the Twilight books and was like, this is not raunchy enough for me. Boom, we got 50 Shades of Grey. That is why fan fiction is important. It is a constant funnel. It's creativity. You're always taking from something saying, hey, I have an idea about this. Let me make more. There's always the conversation of there's no like original book or there's no piece of original writing. Fan fiction is included in that. Someone is always inspired somewhere.
some character, some trope, some
Exactly.
feeling. It's never not a new piece of fiction.
Exactly. So don't leave out fan fiction in the maybe the literary classics you can leave it out of.
Right.
Maybe.
Who knows?
But don't leave it out of like actual literature.
It's also
Yes.
Club.
Would it be right to? Probably not.
Maybe your teacher knows ball.
Yeah. Blanton, if you hear this, do you know ball, Blanton?
We had a conversation about it. She knows.
Yeah, Blanton knows ball. So although I don't think Blanton would accept it, she probably would still read it. So yeah.
So yeah, you add on.
I want to add on because you just reminded me the pipeline, because when you said the Twilight series inspired 50 Shades of Grey and how that started out as fan fiction, I'm like, these Wattpad originals are getting movies. They're getting movies. No, and then I thought, oh my god, The Love Hypothesis. They're making a movie. That was a Reylo fan fiction. If y'all don't know Reylo, the Star Wars. Don't even literally.
Your favorite.
I'm like,
Everybody's talking about heated rivalry now. That was a book.
that was probably a
started like a Wattpad original.
Was
I
it?
think. Maybe
I don't
not,
know.
But there's
No,
definitely
but it was a book.
inspiration.
Even any piece of original literature is fan fiction, because when you ask an author, oh, like, who was this character inspired by, or what was this situation inspired by, they're going to tell you a real life event that actually happened, or they're going to tell you something in another book, or they're going to tell you like maybe a character from a cartoon, or it's fan fiction. Like, you think when they're writing that character, they're just thinking about that character. No, they're probably thinking about Finn from Adventure Time while they're writing their little book. They're probably like, this character kind of looks like Gojo. Like, they are thinking about actors. They're thinking about more than just their own original character. Literature, especially fictional literature, it's all inspiration just together. So, yeah.
Oh, Victoria first.
Yeah. I kind of just wanted to touch back on the point that we made that earlier, that when we said like fan fiction is seen to those who don't understand it as like a taboo thing, because when you kind of get into it at first, even on Wattpad, it's a scary place. You don't know where you're going to start. And a lot of it, not to be that, but it is sexual. It is smut. It is, whatever. A good chunk of it is, like, I'm not going to lie. And, you can read what you want to read. I'm not telling you can't read it, because we indulge. But But the thing is, like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like, again, with the curiosity, like, if you see that and automatically are like turned away, which granted, like, you can be, and like that's totally on you if you think that's disgusts you and you're out. That's you. But there are great works that even if you like just I don't know, the fact that some people like just instantly see that or assume that and they just choose to turn away and not go back into it and search and learn and see what you can uncover in that beautiful, beautiful lifestyle. I feel like it's just it is a lifestyle. It's that serious. It's a lifestyle. It really is a lifestyle. And I mean, like, it's almost the same as like reading a book on a Kindle. It is the same thing, except the books on the Kindle are from published authors who have gotten like a label or whatever.
These are people,
and these are just
for free.
Yes, and fan fiction, fan fiction is free.
Print and download the PDF.
Yes. Never have I ever. Yep.
Yeah.
Or even like the quarterback one with Noah Beck when he was in the Not My Name quarterback. That was a Wattpad original.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like choosing just to blatantly ignore and not feed into the curiosity is like a lost opportunity of a great lifestyle to grow your literacy and your lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle and we partake in that. Yeah.
So a pet peeve of mine. This is not really related to literature, but just related to people's idiocy. And it's like, oh my God, you read fan fiction? Like, how does blank feel about that? Well, yeah, they'll call you a dweeb, or they'll be like, oh my God, you're basically cheating on your partner, or like this, that, and the third. I'm like, if you cannot separate yourself between, again, it calls on like the dissociation of it all. You need to separate yourself. Right. Like, no one's calling out these 30-year-old men back in the day making Princess Leia fan fiction. I don't see this. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about the Princess Leia fanfiction. No, but it's just like separate it, separate your life. Now, there are obviously some people who do fall down like a really weird path, and we're not going to talk about those people, but it doesn't have to be taboo.
Everybody has their niche.
Yeah, everybody has their niche. Like, you don't know what I could be reading. I could be like reading, like, I'm riding a dragon. Like, I could be in the clouds right now.
And you thinking about I'm trying to do something with the dragon.
Exactly. We're not Donkey from Shrek. Like, whole time I'm Aragon and you think we're Donkey.
No.
I'm trying to trade the dragon. That's I promise. But
Exactly. Like,
I kind of to kind of piggyback off of that, like one of my is like not really like a pet peeve, but like an insecurity of mine was always like when writing has always been like, how do I say it? Like I always get scared that people will think that I'm trying to write some freaky frog stuff and I'm not. Because the last time I did, I was a little young.
Well, I was too.
And I was a little young and I wrote it in my journal. And my parents ended up reading that journal.
trauma.
And I was literally crying. Everybody was like, "Why are you crying? You used the words really well." I'm like, "Girl, I didn't want you to read that." And I was literally crying. And now that I think about it, that might have been the start of my downfall because my writing became very stagnant after that. Like the pace in which I wrote original works, very stagnant.
He was scared.
I was really that really did a toll on me.
It's the back.
Like I laugh at it now. Yeah, I laugh at it now, but like it was so at the time that was like literally life or death for me. Like I contemplated it a little. I was like, I might just die because I was so like, it's really sad for me because I grew up an only child. So I grew very accustomed to being around myself and being by myself. Now I'm okay with being by myself, but it used to be a very hard thing for me because I would literally talk to myself. Like I was insane. I was a psychopath. I was literally in the room role playing with myself. Like one man shows in my room by myself. And you know what? I ate and I miss that creativity because, and I mean, I'm not saying I can't get that back. I think it's just more right. I think it's also like that thing where people are like, I always get these random bursts of energy at like 1 a.m. That's how I feel. And I really want to write at like certain times. And then I don't end up doing it. So yeah, I think that's like my biggest insecurity, especially because I love books and I love creating because I can't draw. I can't songwrite. I would love to do that though. And I think I'm not as good as a writer as I'd want to be. So I second guess myself a lot. But I really do like creating. And I think that it's really fun to make. And I like thinking like, oh, well, what will their children be like? Right. That was my favorite type of work to do. Like, just like, oh, like he's the son of the devil. Or, oh, she's the daughter of Persephone or something. Like, like that stuff used to be so fun to me. And I still want to do something like that. But I don't know if I'd probably do it the exact same way. No, Lord, no. Oh my God, we need to get on this topic. Gonna get on the topic of gotcha. But I was gonna say, that used to be my outlet. That was my biggest outlet. When I stopped writing, you know what I did? I made Gotcha Life mini movies. And I'm so upset that I reset my entire YouTube account because I would show you guys my mini movies if I could. I would show you.
That's
I have I have an account.
Do you need me to hold the mic?
Off of this podcast, I'm going to show you guys. But I made a news segment. I have a Gotcha News. I made like one episode. I had a whole I had a whole mini movie thing going on. Like I did those singing battles. All them singing battles, you couldn't mess with me on those. I did Melanie Martinez versus Billie Eilish because those were those girls in the Gotcha community. Right. Yeah. So I know ball.
We know ball.
You know ball. This is up to attend that.
I think you made a really good point. This is Ayana now. I think you made a really good point, Lee, about like the creativity, because it got me thinking. Like I did lose a big chunk of my creativity when I stopped writing. Around the time that I was writing, and like I know I did say I wasn't a big writer before. I mean, I started off as a writer, and then I realized I wasn't the best writer, so I stopped. But my works are still uploaded, and every time someone likes my works, I get a heart attack and I want to delete my account. Um, but yeah, it's just I lost a big chunk of my creativity when I stopped writing. And because around that time I was like 12 or 13. And once I stopped writing, I stopped drawing, I stopped Lee has found his got to life movies. I stopped writing, I stopped drawing. There was my music my music that I listened to kind of became stagnant in a way. But I don't know. When I started reading, I did regain a lot of that back. So I wasn't on the other side anymore. I just switched sides and I gained it back. So I don't think it's completely lost.
Whew. Okay, I know that was a lot of yapping, guys, and I apologize for the super duper long episode this time. But I feel like it was all necessary, and I really do want to thank Victoria, Ayana, and Lee for wanting to come on and talk about all this stuff and just give their input and thoughts. And so I'm really appreciative that we were even able to have a conversation about all of these topics, especially relating to everything I had said previously in my podcasts and kind of relating to it personally and giving our ideas and input. And so if anything, we are fortunate enough to be able to have that opportunity to do so. And I promise this episode is almost over. I'm only going to keep you here for maybe 7 more minutes because I actually have a special treat for you. And it's almost like a self-indulgence treat for me too. I was able to reach out to a creator. Their name is Drakey. They go by he, him. And you can find them on TikTok and Instagram at DrakeyXOXO, all lowercase. And they have probably accumulated around close to 200,000 followers on all of their platforms, at least from TikTok and Instagram. And they are an AO3 creator and content producer. And they are really open to sharing just their thoughts on AO3 as well as memes, culture, and just kind of like the environment around there relating to their fans and their followers. And so I'm so glad that he was down to send a recording on his thoughts because I had reached out on his story. He said, hey, is there any podcast opportunities? I would love to sit down and just do something like that again because he did that previously. And I responded. I was like, hey, I don't have something like sit down podcast, like real professional that I can offer you, but I do have something similar. Let me know if you want the information. I sent the description and he was so down to participate and give his input. And so I was really happy that I was able to get this from him or even someone in that realm of, I guess, fame. And so I asked him 3 questions. I sent them over through Instagram DMs. He sent back his recording on the email I provided. And so I'm just going to play his recording and his inputs, especially given that he is a social media creator with a fandom and he has been here and seen like the ebbs and flows and the, you know, the mix of it all. And so I wanted to include that because I felt like it was really special add and take to this episode, especially coming from him in that perspective. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you after at the end of this episode so we can get a full recap.
Hey, my name is Drake, and I'm going to talk about some fan fiction and fandom. So have I seen anything that like influences people in the realm of fan fiction? You know, I think something that I've noticed as I've made videos, you know, there's always someone who's just really vehemently defensive about their fandom, which is fine. But it's just not really like the space that I like to cultivate. I think that the real ones know that it's kind of bullshit. You know, you for example, I made a video about the Supernatural fandom, and I got railed. They were like, "You don't know what you're talking about. You suck. I hate you." You know, I think fan fiction and fandom is really cool because it is such a safe space for people. But I also think with that comes a lot of defensiveness. You know, a lot of going on the attack, a lot of putting other people down, which, you know, I don't think is at the core of fan fiction and fandom, I think a lot of the values come with community, and making writings about media that we may feel like we want to rewrite, that we want to adapt in a way that makes us, the reader, feel more seen. So looking back, are there certain things that catch my eye about writing compared to now? Yeah, for sure. I think with AI being very prominent, I think it's very clear to see, work that is robotic. There are certain punctuation marks that indicate just a lesser form of creativity because it's not made by a human. I think back then there was a grittiness to writing. I think we were all writing and reading kind of out of necessity. I think obviously technology has advanced. There's so much more media. But I think when fanfiction.net was first around, we were really writing because we didn't see ourselves on the screen, because there were pieces of media that we wanted to rewrite and adapt in our way that, again, made us feel seen. And so I do think there was maybe more of an urgency, more of a shared community because it just was newer. Do I think that there are correlations between writing these stories and someone's piggy bank of literacy knowledge? Yeah, of course. I think, at the end of the day, kids these days read and write less, right? You've got ChatGPT, you've got all of these AI bots that you can put your essays into to do these things for you. And it sucks, it is a real shame. I have a friend who's a teacher and they really tell me these kids can't write. Some of these kids can't read because they have technology to do it for them. So I absolutely think there's a correlation between reading and writing and, children's and adults, literary abilities, their literacy knowledge. And I think it's really a shame. I think it's really scary. Yeah. And I think that more people should read and write. I did hear the other day, my friend who's a teacher was like, oh, I saw a kid of mine and they were reading fan fiction, but apparently they asked AI to write fan fiction for them. I don't know. It's the instinct is right. But again, AI is just so convenient. I get it, but it's just not. It ain't right. Nothing will ever replace a human, a kid, writing about their favorite media because it brings them joy.
Thank you all so much for listening to this longest episode in the series. Wow, that was a lot of talking, but I'm so glad it happened. I'm so glad we have all these thoughts to look back on. I'm so glad that you got the conversations from inside our brains and were able to conceptualize them yourself. My next episode is going to be the last episode in this series, which I'm so sad that it is the last one, but I'm almost kind of glad because I don't know if I could stand doing this all of my life. But I definitely enjoy podcasting. I'm going to make it way shorter than the last 3 episodes have been for your sake and for my sanity. And the last episode is going to be a touch-up and a recollection of all the subjects we've talked about this entire series. COVID in itself, the systemic cycles of the social economical status, the cycles that we're stuck in scholastically in as a society, how it's impacted and affected the literacy skills, the learning comprehension, and our abilities to perform as a society, as people are maturing, as we're gathering new information to keep in our brains. And I'm also going to push forth an idea for you, my listeners, a question to ask how it might be possible to solve these issues or put a fix on the issues, or if we can't put a fix on these issues, how can we adapt and then transfer all of the happenings since COVID and push past it? So I'm going to push forth that question a bit. I'm going to get input. I'm going to see if I can find any research behind that. And I'm so happy to have you all with me this entire series. And I cannot wait to finish it off with you next episode. Once again, I'm your host, Macy Miranda, and I will see you next time. Bye.